Hey guys, Ken Smith Fishing. Welcome back. We're gonna not quite put a bow on the Great Bass Boat Search of 2021 today, but I want to talk about something that I get a tremendous amount of emails about. Before I go there, so we're in our Richardson house. You guys know the world headquarters is Zavala. This is the Bigfoot Annex. Guys have finally started commenting to me that they're seeing the Bigfoot. He's always there, as is and it's more, I want to believe, it's kind of like from X-Files, Mulder from X-Files. But anyway, we will have our spark drawing. Excuse me, that was a little cough break there. We'll have our spark drawing at the end of this video. Gosh, we've given away a whole bunch of money from Spark this year, and I got a video coming up about that real soon. But probably a couple of things I get the most comments, actually it's not comments, questions about, is my Vexus review. And so I have been pretty steadfast in not scoring the Vexus boat because, as you guys are all aware, so by the way, the two Vexus videos got something like 60,000 views. So a lot of people have watched those videos. They continue to apparently get a lot of views because I continue to get a lot of questions about them. And I've not done that review, I've not finished that review because I never could get in that boat, and I'll talk more about this, in rough water, which was something that concerned me when I took Willie's VX20 out. And I told you guys I was going to be extremely fair with Vexus and with you guys and with myself, because at that point, if you remember in those videos, I was pretty fired up about the Vexus. I really liked a lot of stuff about the boat, and I just felt this one thing that felt weird to me. And I was not going to score that boat until I understood what I felt better. And I have made, so the last part of that Vexus review, part 2, was in October of 2020. That is now, gosh, 9 months ago. I chased Vexus for over 5 months, trying to get in a VX21, because that's the boat I wanted to look at, on a rough day with somebody who knew how to drive that boat, which was a pretty limited scope of people, because I didn't want to get in there. It's kind of like driving those Bullets and those Allisons, right? You got to know how to drive those boats. And I never scored those boats good or bad for difficulty to drive because it's a learned behavior. And I didn't want to get in that boat and bury the nose in a wave because I didn't know how to drive that boat. And guys, I don't know how else to say this. I chased them trying to get in that boat, to take a look at that boat. And I got excuse after excuse after excuse until something was said to me that I found out later. And I'm just going to be real straight with you guys. It was not true. A reason I couldn't be in that boat was said is because of this, and I found out within a week that wasn't true, and I quit trying. So, but I started this process to find my boat, and that ended my desire to be in that boat. And I've also told you guys, although I really like the lines on Willie's boat, that gray boat's a beautiful boat, I still hated the rails. Now the rails are an option, and I've seen several of those boats without the rails now. And Vexus has gotten more flexible in some of the things we're doing on that boat, as far as you don't have to have that hard case finish. You can get a gel coat finish, which is I think $2,000 or $3,000 upgrade, which is something I personally wouldn't want, but again, it's my personal deal. But when I decided I wasn't going to buy that boat, it sort of ended my desire to continue to chase those guys. Every single other boat manufacturer that I worked with made great efforts to make sure I got to be in their boat. I had one drive a boat from Tennessee down. The Gambler guys had even said when they have a boat ready, they're going to bring it to Texas because they want me to check the boat out, and I want to, right? I love my Bass Cat, but I'm going to stick to that grading and tell you guys what I think about that boat, because that's what I've enjoyed doing through this process. But I keep getting questions from guys asking me why I didn't finish that review. That's why I didn't finish that review. But now I've had a couple of guys who've said some stuff to me that really starts to make sense to me. And that is, okay, don't score the boat, but everybody watching these 40-ish videos, which I think they're approaching 1 million views now, watching those 40 videos, guys have learned so much what to look for, to like or dislike in a boat, good things and bad things in a boat. So several of these guys have started saying, okay, don't grade it, Just go back through the boat and tell us what you liked and what you didn't like about the boat. And I actually think that's a great idea. So that's what I've done. Now, this is kind of where we left you guys off. And forgive me for looking at the computer screen, but you guys will be looking at it now as well. So at that point, we had looked at 15 boats. I think it was the 10th boat we had looked at. And we didn't score it. But I kind of went back through and I said, okay, what did I like and what did I dislike? And there's some well, originally I thought were innovative ideas in this boat, but what I've come to discover from kind of going through the process is a lot of this stuff actually was borrowed from the saltwater market. Some of the live well technologies, kind of saltwater, the sea deck's always kind of been kind of a saltwater thing. And if you think about it, I would be, so really the United States is where all the bass boats are sold in the world. About 11,000 boats a year sold in the United States across all makers. And then I would be really surprised if there's another 3,000 boats, 4,000 boats sold in the world. So let's just guess 15,000 bass boats sold. I don't know the number, but I would be stunned if there's less than 200,000 saltwater boats sold around the world, sport fishing saltwater boats sold around the world, because they're sold everywhere. There's so much coastline. So the money's gonna go to saltwater, the thoughts are gonna go to saltwater, the innovation's gonna come from there. So why not look at that technology and take that technology and implement what works in the freshwater market? And I think that's what Randy and some of those guys at Vexus have done. So as I look at that boat, let's just start out with fishability. I really like the clean spaces throughout the boat. You know, the boat's, the seats set on a pedestal, the floor's real clean. It's got that sea deck in it. I like that. There were no unnecessary bow switches up front. As we talked about, it's got nice wide decks. The deck configuration size-wise was real similar to what I was used to in a Ranger boat. The boat was stable to fish out of. You remember doing the tippy test. The coffin rod box lids, I love those because the way they're set up, you can open that up and still have your rod strapped down. It doesn't push your rods out of the boat. So those were all things I really liked in that fishability space. The negatives that I saw in it were the bow. If you remember, the little trim buttons were bad. Matter of fact, in my Bass Cat now, I've also seen now in Phoenix, they're putting those buttons separate where you. Sorry about that. I thought I had a good battery in that camera. But I want a trim switch I can use my feet, so I'm fighting the fish, doing whatever. Those aren't the case here. The boat does seem to catch a lot of wind. It actually reminded me of a fish with a buddy of mine that's got a big 20 or 21 foot metal boat. It's a Express. Sorry, the name escaped my memory for a second, but it does blow around a little bit. It's obviously heavier than an Express, but it did blow around a little bit because there's a lot of boat out of the water. I really dislike, and I didn't know exactly where to put this, so I put it in fishability, but that start switch, which I'm gonna have dual mount up there, that start switch is in a bad place. Now maybe you can move that around, but if you're looking at buying this boat, that's something you should consider. If you're gonna dual stack graphs on your front on your dash, you need that start switch somewhere else, or you're gonna be reaching blind for your start switch. And then you guys know, I hate those hook latch lids. That's just a personal pet peeve, but I didn't like those at all. So from a fishability standpoint, pretty dang good overall. I didn't say it, and there's no way to quantify it. I like the look of the boat from in the boat, okay? But I did feel like I was standing up super high, so just something you might try for yourself if you're considering one of those boats. And again, I've said this before, I'm stunned guys buy boats without spending any time in them. I never would. And if you're going to spend this kind of money on a boat, I would strongly suggest you spend a day in it, fishing in it in less than perfect conditions to see if you like it or not. Fit and finish, I've already talked about the sea deck throughout. It's got a lot of sea deck in the floor and a little bit of that front deck I like a lot. It's in the front boxes. I love that. It's in the back boxes too. I gave them a positive for rethinking the co-angler rod space where you can reverse some rods and put them in tip first. I don't know that I like that gun rack style rod holder, but I've never used one. I don't like the look of it, but maybe that's because I never liked them on my four-wheelers for a gun rack. So kudos to them for, again, kind of thinking out of the box and doing something different, but I'm wondering if they're trying to fix something that maybe didn't need fixing there. I did like the air ride seats, and I like the fact that they'll go forward and back. That's part of a package that's about a $5,000 upgrade on the boat, which includes the rails, which I would take off the boat. But the air ride seats are neat, but again, you can have it without them, and I'm sure that's going to knock the price of the boat down a good bit. I like the ice chest setup. I like that little tray you can put your sandwiches or your candy bar in next to it to stay cool. Things I didn't like from a fit and finish standpoint, I really don't like that metal drawer, which by the way is part of that same upgrade under that front deck. It just feels cheap to me, and you can't tell me that metal's not going to rattle after a few months. I put it as a negative, and it's just a negative for almost all of these boats. It's a negative for my Bass Cat as well. You lose gauges. You can't see some of your gauges when you double stack your units on the front, on the bow. I really dislike the badging below the rub rail, and it's not just the Vexus name, but it's also that metal stainless looking badging on the side. I just see, I fish Toledo a fair amount, and I fish Rayburn when the water's not always 8 feet high like it is right now. I just see that really getting rubbed up a lot and not looking very good after the boat's a year old. So, and then the last thing on fit and finish is, I've already said I do not like the look of the rails, but that's an option now to pull those off, and I think a lot of boats are getting ordered that way without those rails at this point. From a performance standpoint, it had a really nice hole shot. Now, in fairness, the boat was completely empty. He did not, I don't think there was maybe a couple of rods, but there was no tackle in the boat. And it had some gas in it, but, and even with the live wells full, had a pretty good hole shot. But it wasn't tournament condition hole shot, but I still think it'd be a good hole shot based on what I saw. I like the way the boat lands. It lands soft. It doesn't have that heavy jarring crash down. I didn't get footage of it, but I had old footage that I didn't put in because the audio was so bad. But we ran the boat on plane at 24 miles an hour, which is great, which suggests to me you can control that nose pretty good in a trailing sea. The negatives are it's Ranger fast, I think, probably at best. And I never got to drive it in rough water. So that's why I'm not scoring, but it's why I'm telling you guys what I liked and what I didn't like about this particular boat. The amenities where the boat really probably stands out, or stands as tall as any other boat we looked at in the crowd. It's got net storage, and although I don't love the net storage, because it's where the old Triton net storage is, and most guys who had that net storage have had to replace nets, but it's better than the Ranger in the floor net storage where you're stepping on it and getting foot hung up on it all the time. I like that pull-out ladder. That's pretty cool. I misspelled baffled, sorry, but I like the baffled fuel tank idea, which by the way is another saltwater, something that's done quite a bit in the saltwater market. So adding baffles to keep the fuel from sloshing around and not necessarily, I guess, adding to a rough ride, let's put it that way. I think one of the cooler things on the boat is the through bolt power pole mount system. Now I know this boat had a Raptor in it, or Raptors on it, but I love how those mount, you don't have to add the big extended brackets off the back of the boat. That's going to cut down on wobble a lot. So I think that's really cool. It also is going to take, I think it might take a little bit of weight away, but they obviously had to put, or they didn't obviously, they put an aluminum plate on the inside of the boat that may have at least shifted the weight a little bit more to the boat versus off the back of the boat. I would think overall, though, that's got to be a positive for the performance of the boat. And by the way, I will tell you, if you guys remember in that video, that's the only set of Raptors I've seen, and they are super quiet, so those Raptors are nice. The live well system, once I understood it, that's a cool deal. The ability to completely fill them up in rough water, yeah, you're adding a lot of water, but I think it probably keeps from banging the fish around. And anytime you can add more water volume, you're adding more oxygen volume. So that's got to be better for your fish on the long run as well. The remote fob, I listed that as a positive in the amenities. I would never use that in lieu of a manual kill switch. but it's still a cool idea. You're at the front of the boat and you just want to shut the boat off, where you've snapped it down and rolled it up, or there's probably a bunch of other reasons why that's a cool idea, but that's a neat idea at some level. Negatives on the amenities on that nice of a boat: they have the old cheap battery straps. There's no driver's cleat, which again, if you lock through much, my buddies in Arkansas will tell you, it's important to have a cleat at that driver's seat to help secure that boat to the wall, or not to the wall, but to the floating tie downs in a lock. So I really did not like the shelf in the rod box. That's just giving up space. Again, I think they're trying to fix something that's not broken. I would rather have the space than a shelf in there to set a couple of rods on. And then I've had a lot of feedback from some co-anglers who've been in this boat, who said I didn't do proper justice on those O-crap handles, that it does not have good O-crap handles for the co-angler to hang on to. So thanks for that feedback from you guys. And back to the performance. I have gotten really weird feedback about this. I've gotten several guys who said, this is the worst riding boat in rough water, you're onto something. I wouldn't own this boat. I don't want to own this boat anymore. And I've gotten several more guys said, man, you're wrong. They're selling these boats on the Great Lakes like crazy because it's the best rough riding boat out there. I don't know, guys. All I would say to you is, before I spend 40 grand on a boat, much less 80 or 90 grand, I'm going to take a ride in it, and I'm going to take a ride in it on a day that's pretty rough, as I did with the boat that I wound up buying. So those are some of the things I liked and didn't like. The last thing, trailers and other stuff, it's got a good winch and jack, which we've talked about. It's kind of price of admission on that upgrade package that gets you several things on the boat. It does include a trailer brake option, which I love. I like the website. It doesn't have a ton of pictures on it. It's very conceptual, but I do like that it's got the pricing option, so you can see what things cost to add things. And they actually have a large dealer network, which is weird because they've not sold a lot of glass boats, but they've sold a gazillion metal boats. So there's a lot of boat dealers because they're selling those metal boats, which is probably a really bright way to get into the market, right? Get the metal boats to market, get a dealer network, and then you can flow the glass boats in behind it. So that's my take on the Vexus. Now, I looked at a VX20. The 21 is a very similar boat. I'm not going to score it. Even at this point, if they came to me and said, gosh, Ken, there's a boat in your front yard, go drive it, I'm kind of done with it. But I wanted you guys to know what I liked and what I didn't like about the boat, and the reasoning why I never finished that review. And that's what it is. So thanks for tuning in, guys. I really appreciate all the feedback I've gotten. Now, the one boat I've not reviewed that I still would very much like to review, and a lot of you guys have asked me to do it, is the Nitro. I hope to be able to do that. As you guys know, we had another baby this year. We've really not even been to Rayburn since the middle of March. So, but as soon as I get down there, if I can get access, or if somebody in North Texas, by the way, so let me just throw that out. If somebody up here has a 2021 21-foot Nitro that they'd be willing to let me spend a few hours in it by myself or with them, I would love to go out and do the Nitro, just purely out of curiosity. I'd still like to do that boat for you guys because I know a lot of you guys are interested in it. So there you go. That's as true and fair as I can possibly be. And I got more good stuff coming for y'all again on Thursday and again next week, and then a whole bunch thereafter. So sorry guys, I almost forgot to do the spark drawing this week. So let's draw a name out of here. About 100 and, I'm not even sure how many, 170, 180 names in here now. So right there, this week's spark drawing winner is going to be, this may be my first female winner, Paula Matlock of Huntington, Texas, right down there by the lake. Paula, congratulations. I'm pretty sure you're our first female winner. A couple of weeks, be watching out for a envelope from Rewards. It's a gift card, 250 bucks from Spark Energy. So thanks for being a Spark Energy customer or a Spark Fishing affiliate. Remember guys, the way to get in this drawing is in the description down below. You can either just switch your energy provider to Spark Energy. We do $250 a week. or you can join the affiliate fishing program. That also qualifies you for all the Bass Champs awards, plus all the Sherelunker awards as well. So once again, thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys later this week.
All right, on your belly, like Superman. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Is that fun?
Yeah. All right, you want to do it again? Let's do it again. Go to Mike.